Okay, today I'd like to talk about young men. We see in today's social media this push towards alpha male, beta male, or there's so many other terms out there. And to me, it's all ridiculous. To me, you're not a beta or an alpha. An alpha is just someone who pushes someone else down, and a beta is someone who's a little wimp. And neither one of those things are Christian. So what are we even doing? What are we even doing looking at all this stuff? To me, a man, and especially a young man, should be a king. He is a king. And if he's not a king, then he's not worth the ground he's standing on. He is not worth the oxygen he's breathing. He is not fulfilling what God told him to do. Simple as that. If he's not being a king, there's just no two ways around this. And a man should be able to be a king before he gets a lady. Before he gets anything else. He has to become a king. Today's modern idea is of these men running around saying they want a queen. They want themselves a woman who's at home cleaning and cooking them food, which is a very good thing. And I hope everyone gets that. But you can't expect that if you're not a king. You can't expect yourself a queen if you're not a king. You've got to first show how you are going to be a king. If you're not the leader that God has told you to become, then how are you going to expect a young lady to want to follow you? If you're not a leader, then there's nothing to follow. Yeah? I'm hoping this makes sense. If you can't become the king that God has told you to become, or the man that God has told you to become, then don't expect that some young lady is going to go, oh, wow, what a man that I can follow. What a man that I can step to his tune. I can follow him. What are you even thinking? If you want yourself a good woman to stay at home, look after the kids, cook a meal, clean the floors, or do whatever else needs to be done around the house, then you first need to become the king and the leader of your household, which can just be you. You first need to demonstrate how you are going to take care of your family, how you are going to lead your wife, even if you don't have one. You need to demonstrate these things before you can expect that any young lady walking by, looking at you, can think to herself, oh, that's a good man to follow. You need to be able to show that you can lead your family in spiritual matters. You need to be able to show that you are a provider, a fighter. You need to be all of these things before you can even begin to expect that a lady's going to want to follow you. See, nowadays you have all these women out there saying, oh, I want this and I want that. And you have all the men out there saying, I want this and I want that. And neither side is getting what they want or need. See, naturally, women want to follow. Naturally, women want to be pursued and they want to follow a man. Naturally. Now, obviously, there's exceptions to the rule, but naturally, that's the way they want to go. And naturally, men want to lead. Naturally. Now, why is that natural? It's because that's what God put in you to do. This is not misogyny. This is not some sort of patriarchy. No. This is how God designed the world to be. A man leading his family. That's how God designed it to be. That's why it's natural. But men are not being men and standing up and being men and leading. You don't need your woman's permission or your wife's permission to lead. You know, so many Christian YouTubers are saying like, oh, I let my husband lead, or my wife lets me lead. That's not leadership. She doesn't get the choice whether or not to let you lead. Your first calling is to God. Whether you like it or not, your first calling is to God. And so if your first calling is to God, you don't have no one has authority to question what God has told you to do. Your authority comes directly from God, and God directly tells you to become a man and a leader and a king. He directly tells you to do this. There's no nonsense about it. No, oh, well, I don't have permission, or she won't let me. What are you even talking about? What are you even talking about? She won't let you. No, first, you got to be a king and a leader. And no one can tell you not to. If she won't let you, it's not a woman worth being with. I think you can read about that in Proverbs. If she won't let you, she's not a woman worth being with. Also, it's important to note that there is stronger women out there, and there is weaker men. But every hand has its glove. And it's important that the matching pair come together. So if she's a very strong woman, she'll need a very strong man. Now, typically in societies, we see stronger women getting with weak men so that they can dominate. Because women, naturally, from the fall into sin, also have this desire to dominate. You'll see this in Genesis, just directly after the fall into sin. It's one of her curses. She'll have this desire to dominate. Also, in conflicting with that is, like I said earlier, this desire to follow. So there's a confliction going on, and men are not stepping up to the plate. They're just not. They're just not stepping up. They're not becoming the men that God called them to be. And then, on the other hand, they're expecting a woman to be exactly how God wanted them to be. They wanted them to be like the Proverbs 31 woman. Right? That's what they want. But they're not prepared to become the man that God told them to be. And that's just hypocritical at its best. Sheer folly, and in most cases, it's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. We're not thinking about what we need to do. We only think about what others need to do for us, or should be doing for us. You know, it's okay to be a man and say, well, I'd like a woman that would wash and clean and look after my kids. That's a fine goal. But first, you need to become the man that God called you to be. I'm serious. Thank you.